Hey everyone, my name is Marcus Stewart and welcome to Marcus Talks About Games, coming to you from sunny Florida. The sun is out, the weather is unpredictable, it's either really chilly or very rainy or a mix of both, or it's our normal sunny selves. You never know what you're going to get around this time of year with Florida. While the rest of the country is currently freezing to death, we are sitting here kind of shrugging our shoulders, going like, I don't know what's gonna be today. Are we gonna get rained on? Is it gonna be hot? Are we gonna get rained on while it's hot and then it changes to a cold wind? Who knows? I will say though that I kind of don't want to go outside and figure that out because I've been enamored recently with a brand new game, a new entry into the battle royale genre, and I'm just so excited to talk about it. So let's hop right to it. Apex Legends. My God. What a game, and what a pleasant surprise. First of all, I just want to say that in the time that this game has existed, I've had a very hard time not calling it either Apex Predator, and that's more because I'm a WWE fan and it makes me think of Randy Orton, or I keep calling it Apex Legacy. So the name itself isn't that great. In fact, I wonder why it wasn't just called Apex. I feel like that would be like it would make no difference because I'm not sure what the legends really refer. I mean, it refers to the characters, but like, are they legends? I don't think that's. I think that's overblowing their importance a bit. But name issues aside, this game has been an absolute blast. So if you're not aware, this is a battle royale shooter released by Respawn, the makers of Titanfall, who are also working on a new Star Wars game that comes out this fall, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Yeah, Star Wars Jedi, Fallen Order. They've also got that cooking, but pretty much out of the blue, they just dropped this game. So from what I understand, they had a live stream, I think the day before, and where they announced this game and then launched it on Monday, this past Monday, so a week ago now, on February 4th. I did not see the live stream or hear about it, so I only found out, I think the morning that it launched, because I got a press release from EA, like just announcing it, and I did a double take reading it because it just said like new game from Respawn, and I was like, wait, Respawn has what? Like, I like Respawn. I love Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 is one of my favorite shooters of this generation. So immediately I was like, wait, what is this? And it's like, it's out now. I'm like, what? And it's free. What? And it's a battle royale game. What? And what's cool about this game, if you haven't seen it or like heard anyone talk about it, is that it's a battle royale game, but it's very different. First, one of the biggest differences, it's that it's team based. It's as for now, it's squads only, but the squads are only 3. So it's teams of 3 fighting against each other on a giant map, and there's 19 teams total, which is an odd number. I don't know why it wasn't just 20. But, so 19 teams of 3 fighting against each other, which I believe adds up to 57 players total until the last team is standing. And instead of everyone being the same generic character, the game is hero-based, or legends. Like I said, that's what the legends are referring to, are the characters. And so it's like an Overwatch or a Rainbow Six where every character has their own set of specific skills. So building a team that's balanced in some sort of way is important. So like there's the person I've been using the most by far is Bloodhound, who is like a tracker. So his special abilities is that he can see footprints left from other players, and it gives you like a timer of like, oh, this person was here like 15 seconds ago, and you can see a trail, so you can kind of determine like, okay, who's been here and how long ago, could they still be in the area. It can also just reveal like last known locations and that kind of stuff. I've also dabbled with I think her name is Bangladesh, which, by the way, I wasn't aware of this, but apparently the legends are all based off of the bosses from Titanfall 2. But Bangladesh has like an airstrike that she can call in that just blows everybody up. A buddy of mine uses Gibraltar a lot, and he's like a defense character where he has like a shield and he's heavy, and he also calls like an airstrike thing, but it's different. And of course, there's a healer. So like I said, every character is completely different. different play styles and assembling your team in a way that makes sense to how everyone plays, assuming that you're playing with people you know, is very important. Now, I have never been super grabbed by battle royale games. I've dabbled in Fortnite. Like, I would play a couple matches once every 2 months, maybe. And I've only played PUBG exactly one time. I think I've said that on the show before. And playing those two games, two of the biggest battle royale games, at least, I guess probably still now, it made me realize that I like the idea of battle royale games more than actually playing them, because those games play fine, but PUBG has some jank, and Fortnite plays better, but like the building aspect, I just could not wrap my head around because I don't play enough of it to get good at that part. So it'd be kind of frustrating because it's like I feel like I don't even know how to play half of this game, because I'll be shooting somebody and then in the blink of an eye they're suddenly inside of the Taj Mahal that they just built out of nowhere and shooting at me from the top of it. So I was always looking for like a battle royale game that like took that idea and just put it in a more, I guess, polished or in a presentation or in a package that I personally could wrap my mind around. Like, I played a little bit of the H1Z1 battle royale. I had a little bit of fun with that. That was fine. And then Call of Duty Black Ops 4 came out, and I've said this when I talked about playing that free trial a few episodes ago, that was the first one. I was like, oh, okay, I'm having fun with this because this is a polished take on this formula, and it's also in a game or series that I'm very familiar with. Like, I've played years of Call of Duty, so it's like, okay, I feel at home with this control wise, and also it's got the cool format, the battle royale format that I really want to get into. So I played a lot of that game during the free trial, but now with this has, I think, superseded that. Like, I can't get enough of this game right now. I played a ton of matches in a row with two friends, and it's really well done. Like, for something to come out of nowhere, and granted they've been working on this for the last couple years, but it has polish. It looks and feels fantastic. And as a fan of Titanfall, it has that fluid movement and gameplay that as soon as I started running around and doing stuff, I would like, it just feels like, it's like, when you pick up a game that just feels good, like you just settle in, it's like putting on a comfortable glove where you're just like, oh yeah, like I don't even really have to think about this. I can just go and do things confidently. That's what this game has going for it. I think the aspect of this game that has attracted me the most is the team aspect. So you have teams of 3 and you're working together, and for someone like me who has never been super confident about my abilities in Battle Royale, I like having 2 people with me that kind of watch my back. And the game does a really great job with the mechanics that it has to both help each other and to also inform each other of what's happening. So they have these cool little beacons that you can set where you can very easily, with like a button press, like you can tag things off in the distance and assign different tags depending on what there are. So if you see enemies moving like way off in the horizon, you can tag them and let everyone else know, and then they can also see exactly what you're pointing at. You can do the same thing with like just general points of interest of like, hey, there's a house there, I'm gonna mark it, maybe we should go there, I think there's some good loot. You can tag individual like loot on the ground, so if you find something and your partners are wandering away, you're like, hey, shotgun right here if anyone wants this, or health kit, or whatever it may be. And that's a cool mechanic, especially if you don't want to use chat if you're playing with random people, because the game actually, like, it's pretty doable to play this game without chat. Even playing with 2 other strangers, because of those tabs, like there are a myriad of ways to communicate. There's even a kind of nifty chat to text option, which I don't know if this game is the first one to do it, but it's the first time I've ever seen the feature where, let's say maybe only one person has a headset and is talking and the rest of us don't, and maybe we can't hear the person for whatever reason, but like if they're talking, it'll translate their spoken word into text, and that you'll see in the corner so that you can read it. And it's not perfect. I was playing with a friend, and we had one guy on our team who was a stranger, and we couldn't hear each other because me and my friend are talking at a party, so he can't hear our chat. But he's talking, and we're seeing kind of like a rough translation of what he's saying. It's very almost like Google Translate in terms of the reliability of the translation, but it's enough to be like, okay, I have an idea of what you're saying. And granted, maybe it's better than that. Maybe the person that we were playing with didn't speak good English. Who knows? But it's a nifty feature regardless. I will say though that if you can play with one or two other people that you know, the game is an absolute blast. I had so much fun just planning, like that fun, the general fun of surviving against all these other people, but then having two people to bounce ideas off of and strategies. It just feels really, really cool. So if you can, I highly recommend finding two other people that you know, or at least one other person. The game only has one map for now, which seems like it would be troublesome, but the map that they have is freaking huge. Like, it is an enormous map, and it's filled with so many different types of environments in that one map that it manages to stay fresh even after multiple rounds. Like, I've played a ton of rounds, and I still haven't seen every area of the map. But what I love about it is, like, not only is there diversity in just the like aesthetics and the different like biomes or whatever you want to call them, but everything just looks really nice graphically. Like, it's a very vibrant game. It's very colorful. There's like lush jungle areas. There's like a desert zone. There's because it's an island, so like there's beach areas. Like we found like, and there's like a bunch of different buildings. Like we found like a water treatment facility. We found one like this underground like lab looking thing that we kind of stumbled upon. There's like a bunch of villages and like little shacks kind of dotted around the island. There's different terrain types because there's like mountains and hills, so you can find points up there to take cover and watch over everybody. Like, they did a good job of making, like, knowing that they would only have one map at launch, they did a good job of making it as interesting as they possibly could. Because who knows how long it's going to be until we get another one. And maybe over time, you know, once I've put even more time into it, I'll have seen everything and maybe things will get old. But even then, I think the map is just kind of fun to explore and to get around. Like, I just feel myself, even after, if I knew where everything was, I just think the act of actually traveling from place to place is fun, just from the different terrain types. They've even got like these zip lines everywhere that you can instantly zip up or down different areas. I don't know, I just like walking around that world. It's just fun to just look at stuff, peek out all the different hiding places and just vantage points. Another thing that the game does differently than other Battle Royale games is the Jump Master system, where, you know, like, at the beginning of every Battle Royale game ever, you're jumping out of a thing and you're landing where you want to land. Apex Legends has a cool twist on that, where since it's cooperative, every time you jump, one person on your team is assigned to be the jump master, and they effectively have control of where the entire squad is going to land. So they can pinpoint exactly on the map where they want to put using that marker system I mentioned before. And the other teammates can also suggest where they should jump. So they can mark someone on the map and be like, hey, maybe you should go here. And then, you know, you can choose to listen to that person if you want to. Playing with random people, I've been the jump master several times, and I've been struck by how much anxiety I get being the jump master playing with strangers, because I feel like, because that opening jump is very make or break. Like, you can land in a really bad spot, like if you happen to land where 3 or 4 other squads are at once, and it becomes like a really sloppy free-for-all, because like some people have weapons, some don't, and you get wiped out immediately, which has certainly happened to me before. And then you kind of feel like, oh man, I just let the team down already because I did not pick a good spot for us to land. So like, I was struck, I was really taken aback by, like, I was the jump master and I just had this anxiety of like, oh god, like I have to pick, like, okay, I don't know enough about the game yet to know what's a good spot, so I'm going to pick here, especially playing with people that are significantly higher level than me. And you can pass over the jump master responsibilities to someone else if you want to, but then I didn't want to because I'm too cool. I was like, well, I don't want to look like a wimp. I don't want to just pass it on, so I'm like, I'm gonna see this through. I'm going to do it. So generally I'll go with whatever the other person picks. Like, if someone picks something immediately, I'm going to assume like, okay, you didn't waste any time picking that spot or recommending that spot, so I'm going to assume you know that that's a good spot to land, so I'm just going to go with your suggestion. And then if we lose, then I can blame you because I just went where you went to, so it's a win-win. But I think that's a nice little twist on that formula. So like I said, the shooting and the movement feels fantastic. You can do a bunch of like running around and sliding, especially on your knees downhill, is a lot of fun. Just the mobility and like climbing around just feels really, really smooth and good. There's no Titans in this game, despite this game being set in the Titanfall universe. I think, if I remember correctly, this takes place 30 years after the end of 2. I think that's what it was. But there are no actual Titans in this game, which is fine. I don't miss them at all. As much fun as they already use in Titanfall, I haven't found myself going like, man, this game would be better if you had a mech. Though it would be better if BT just appeared somewhere and was just being BT, because BT's the best. But I have to say, not since Overwatch have I been this engrossed in an online multiplayer game. Because I don't play a lot of online multiplayer games. I've never really been that kind of a guy. Maybe it's part me being an introverted person and just kind of preferring to play things on my own for the most part. But there haven't really been a lot of multiplayer, like online modes, that have really sustained my interest for very long or at all. And then Overwatch was a big one where that took me by surprise, and I put a ton of time in Overwatch, and I still play it every now and again. But this one, I can't stop thinking about it. Like, especially like getting friends together and just BSing and just the fun of either singling out another teammate and jumping them and just all punching them at once, or just it's just fun to try to survive together, like feeling the odds of trying to take down 19 other squads with two good buddies and feeling like you can pull it off. It's really something else. Like, and every match has felt different. There's all the different emergent stories that come out of it, which is always fun to hear from like other people, just situations that they have found themselves in. And then even just among your team, just like if you're getting into silly stuff and then talking about it later, like, oh man, remember when we did that? Like the one night I played with two friends, we like there was a great moment right at the beginning of the match where we landed right next to another squad. So like we were both fighting each other immediately, but none of us had weapons. And so like one guy who was the robot character with the smiley face on his chest was trying to fight my friend and not doing a great job of it. Like, they just had a fist fight, and he tried to, and then my friend found a gun and was shooting at him, so he tried to run, and he's like trying to slide downhill to get away from us, and then I slide after him, but I'm kind of going perpendicular to where he's moving, so we end up like sliding and meeting at a point, and as soon as he stops, I slide up right on his blind side and uppercut him as as I'm sliding, which is great, and it just knocks him down. And then my other friend shows up, and he's like trying to crawl away, and then we just start like punching and stomping on him, like just complete mugging, and it was hysterical. And I remember I literally like yelled out loud as soon as I nailed that sliding uppercut, because I did not know you could do that. And you can even do cool executions where if you have someone down on their knees, if you hold square, I believe, or X if you're playing on Xbox, you'll do like a little cinematic like finishing move that takes them out, and you can unlock more apparently with like through like the loot boxes or whatever. So I think that's a cool touch. Like, this game has a lot of really cool touches that again make it stand out compared to the other battle royale games out there, which is very important given how Fortnite currently makes the world go round, and PUBG is still very popular in its own right. You have to do something that is different. I think that's what a lot of copycats have kind of failed at. They've kind of like H1Z1 is very much, it feels like PUBG basically, but with some zombies, but it's pretty much the same kind of experience. Apex Legends has a novelty, but it's a well realized novelty. And I honestly, like I said, I can't wait to play more of it. This has been a very pleasant surprise, and I'm super stoked to see how this game evolves throughout the year. Like, if they add new maps, if they add new legends, or whatever it might be, I could see myself playing this at least once a week for the rest of the year if they keep supporting it with some meaningful updates, and if I have friends that stick with it too. Just, man, what a cool thing. Just what a really cool thing. And because of the nature of this game's release, I have to wonder, so there's another battle royale game that hit the streets this week, Fear the Wolves, which is developed by I think Vostok Games. It's a Russian developer. I remember interviewing the devs at E3 last year, actually. And it's a game that's been in early access for a while. It just came out of early access a couple of days ago. I think it was on the 6th, I want to say. And their battle royale game is also has a cool, unique take where it's a combination of Stalker, because it's got some ex-Stalker devs working on it, and battle royale, where it's set in Chernobyl, and on top of fighting like 100 other players or whatever it is, you also have to survive against like radiated environments. There are like mutant wolves that will hunt down players. Like if you, I think it's if you wander into certain zones, like wolves will come after you and can murder you. So you have to deal with that. And just other little, just like extra threats that you have to contend with. So that's another game that kind of does something different with Battle Royale. But I wonder, because of this Apex Legends coming out of nowhere, is that going to affect some of the, is that going to steal some of Fear the Wolves' thunder? And to be fair, Fear the Wolves, because it's been early access, it's had a chance to build up an audience. So the people that have already been playing the game and like it are probably going to keep playing it now that it's out, and it's had time to gain word of mouth. But as far as I know, you have to pay for Fear the Wolves, whereas Apex Legends, being this free-to-play sensation that's available on PC as well as consoles, because I believe Fear the Wolves is PC only for now. That's gotta. I wonder how that's going to affect their launch, because it's not like the devs could plan for that. In fact, they probably planned, like, I don't know, whatever you think. Like, in my mind, you would think, okay, we're gonna come out at this date. We're gonna come out of early access because there's nothing else coming out this week that would be considered competition for our thing. So we're in a safe. This is a safe little pocket to release our game in. And then out of nowhere, Apex Legends comes out, which is another thing that's doing the same thing that you're doing with its own kicks. And it's so short notice that you don't have time to like delay it or change the date. I mean, maybe you could. I don't know. It just depends on the roadmap that you have as a developer. But I'm thinking in my mind that it's too late. Like, we have to stick to the date that we're doing. But now we have to try to like get attention from this other game that is now taking the world by storm. What do we do? On sort of a lesser degree, I was thinking about Anthem. If Anthem would be affected at all, being that these are both EA published titles. And of course, Anthem is a very different thing. It's more of a Destiny than a Battle Royale, or it's not Battle Royale at all, obviously. But they're still online multiplayer games. And I don't know, there's a part of my mind that thinks, like, with Anthem coming out and it having sort of a mixed reception going in, like that beta it didn't seem universally well received. Like I shared my thoughts on it last week, where it basically, I could sum it up as it was okay, but like some people couldn't get into it because of server issues, and then the people that didn't seem, I didn't see any like overwhelmingly positive reactions, just kind of like, oh, this works, I guess. So would people want to spend their time in an online multiplayer game with something that on paper seems just okay, or you can get this free thing that is very good? At least people seem to agree for the most part that this game is awesome. And now, is Anthem going to have to kind of compete with a game that's under the same publishing umbrella as them in terms of just attention and time? Like, gamers only have so much time to spend with certain games, especially the older that they are. So if I'm having a blast putting a bunch of my free time into Apex, am I less inclined to want to spend a bunch of time with a game that maybe didn't make the best impression initially in Anthem? Now that I have that choice, like, if Apex Predator didn't exist, I would look at Anthem and maybe at least give it a little bit more consideration of like, oh, I would like a new online multiplayer thing to get into. Here's this one coming at the end of the month that looks kind of cool, and oh wait, never mind, I got this new one that I can team up with my friends and do all this cool stuff, and it's made by a developer whose game, or the last game that they shipped, was awesome. I don't know, maybe no one else sees that like as a problem or see that correlation, but I just can't help but think that would raise at least some sort of issue. And I wonder what EA's reasoning is of, let's release this right before our big marquee game of the year, at least that's not a sports game, and not earlier or later. I don't know. I have to wonder that. This might be an exaggeration, but something about this reminds me of Titanfall 2 getting released in between Battlefield and what was the other game? There was another game. It was there was like a big story of Titanfall 2, despite being critically loved, didn't maybe perform as well sales wise because they released it either right before or right after a Battlefield game. And oh, it was like in between a Call of Duty and a Battlefield, so they picked a really rough time. Just like, here's a good spot to release this, in between Call of Duty, one of the biggest franchises ever, and then Battlefield, which isn't as big, but it's still a name, and we're kind of cannibalizing our own product to a degree. That's kind of what this feels like a little bit to me. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out when the Anthem comes out and how it does in terms of an audience. Do people gravitate towards it immediately? Is the game good enough to attract an audience? Because that'll be the most telling thing, where like if the game comes out and it's fantastic, but then nobody's really playing right out the gate, is it because most people have like if Apex Legends has only gained further steam, would that signal that most people are just spending their time with Apex as opposed to the $60 Anthem, which despite being good isn't enough to pry people away from Respawn's grip? I look forward to seeing the answer to that question in just over a week or so, because Anthem at the earliest launches the 15th. Oh wait, hold up. I just realized that Thursday is Valentine's Day. As in, like, seriously, this isn't even a bit. I just realized it was Valentine's Day this Thursday. Cool. Happy Valentine's Day for anyone that's got a significant other, or just someone that you really think is the bee's knees. Do something nice for them. Get them a big heart-shaped thing. I don't even know what the thing is. Just something that is in the shape of a heart. It could be candy. It could be a gun. Whatever you think would make the person happy, go for it. I've never actually really done much for Valentine's Day. I've always been single. And by that, I mean single on Valentine's Day specifically. There's only one time that I was in any sort of relationship, and it was many years ago that happened to last through Valentine's Day. And even then, that was kind of a weird deal because it was kind of long distance at the time. So I've never actually done the whole, the whole thing of, taking the person out and giving them the hearts and the candies and the flowers and all that stuff and everything that kind of comes with Valentine's Day. There was one cool little memory I have, just to to kind of keep with this theme, this Valentine's theme that I'm kind of rolling into, in terms of a video game related memory that has to do with relationships, I guess. I remember my first girlfriend at the time, way back in 2006 and into 2007, the first video game related gift I ever got as part of any sort of significant relationship was a copy of Okami for PlayStation 2. And I remember thinking that was super cool. One, because I genuinely wanted that game. I remember, reading about it in magazines, like, oh, this looks really cool. I want to get that. And I don't remember ever sharing this with her, but somehow she, nailed a good guess in terms of hey, I want to get him something. He likes video games. Hey, here's this new game. Maybe he'll like it. And then it working out spectacularly. Because that's not that would not be a game that I would expect a complete non-gamer to buy for someone on a whim. Just, I don't know, just having worked at GameStop for I used to work at GameStop, by the way. I worked there for about a year or so. So in that time there, I've interacted with just, people of all walks of life, hardcore gamers, casual, non-gamers, everything in between. And I would always get, the people that are buying games as gifts for people, and the person that is the gifter, yes, not knowing anything about games, and then most of the time kind of buying things that are very, I guess, mainstream, or just things that they know that they're like, oh, this is supposed to be good, like a Call of Duty or a sports game, or just whatever was the hot sensation, Minecraft. Okami is a very artsy, kind of almost obscure to a degree choice for someone that has no familiarity with the medium to take a chance on, especially given that on the surface it probably looks like a really girly, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like a wimpy game. Like this doesn't look like it has any action. It's just kind of really like artistic looking. Though I'm an artistic person, so maybe that's why she got it. I'm not sure. But I just remember getting the gift and being very taken aback that she got that, but also being super happy about it and expressed it. And I remember playing with her because I wanted to show off the game to her and playing it. And, you know, she's being very polite, just kind of watching me. And I remember she thought the art style was cool, but otherwise probably didn't really care all that much about the actual, like, game design aspect of it. And I remember passing her the sticks to try to get her to play. And that was a very hard thing to do because Okami, if you've never played it, you're controlling a wolf god named Amaterasu who has to basically restore nature and color back to this world that's been shrouded in darkness. So she has control over basically all aspects of life. Has a very unique control scheme where you're drawing symbols, or like it's really like Japanese calligraphy, in order to activate a lot of the game's special abilities. So if you needed to like make the sun come out, you have to literally draw a circle on the screen. And at the time, you would do that by rotating the analog stick on the controller. The game's been ported multiple times, so like on the Wii, you would just use the Wiimote, which seems like an ideal way to play that game, honestly. Some of the symbols were really intricate, like having to draw just like, you're just like drawing different angles, like just sharp edges and all these, you know, like again, like you're writing Japanese symbols. And like even amongst video game enthusiasts, that was something that you kind of had to take some time to wrap your mind around. At least I know I did. And so having to teach that to someone that doesn't even have the base of I guess kind of quote unquote general game design, that was an interesting adventure. After having to teach her the basics of third-person controls in terms of like, this is how you rotate the camera, this is how you move, and this is how you would hopefully try to do both simultaneously. Also, you have to use those same sticks to bring up this paintbrush, and if you want to cut this thing down, you got to draw a line. Do you get it? And she, you know, understandably was not having it. It was just really challenging for her, and I think she struggled, particularly to draw the circle to make the sun come out. That was an odyssey, the Circle Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Circle Odyssey. Though I got a pretty good laugh out of it. It was cute, and we stayed up all night playing this game, or me playing it, and then her attempting to play it and struggling to draw this circle. That eventually I think I gave her the sticks, and I was really tired, and I just kind of laid down for a while and like kind of drifted off into sleep, but I was coming in and out of sleep. And you know when you're like half asleep, where you can't tell if you're dreaming or not, like you're like, because you're asleep enough where the world just seems hazy and not all there, like you feel like you're barely, like you're only kind of existing on the same plane as the rest of the world. So you don't really trust what's happening. Like you don't know if the things that you're seeing or hearing are real or just a figment of your imagination. And at some point, I don't remember this, but I remember, I guess at some point I passed out, and then, you know, we went to bed, and then the next morning we woke up and we were talking about the night before, and she told me that, she's like, yeah, you know, we were playing that Okami game, and you know, when you passed out at some point, and I was still trying to play it, and then randomly, because you were asleep for a while, so it was kind of quiet, and then out of nowhere, you just kind of blurted out, in sort of a frustrated fit, "Oh, shut up. You can't even draw a circle." And she's like, "Do you remember that?" And I said, "No, like, not at all. Like, did I really say that?" And she's like, "Yeah, you did. Like, you kind of screamed it almost, kind of angrily." And it startled me because I was just like, wait, what? Like, where did that come from? Because, again, you were dead asleep, tired, and then as I was trying to draw a circle on the screen, you literally just said that. And it was both hilarious and frightening. And I to this day, I don't remember saying that at all. As someone that's never been drunk, I can only assume that's what it's like to have something happen that you don't remember from like the night before, like you passed out and then things happened in your sleep or something. That's how being drunk works, right? I've seen The Hangover, so I'm assuming that's what that is. Anyways, it was a fun little thing, and for me, as someone that has not really actually celebrated Valentine's Day in the traditional sense, it's a fun little like video game related Valentine's-ish memory. So just wanted to share that with you guys. And I would love to hear any Valentine's Day gaming memories that you guys have, or maybe not even necessarily on Valentine's Day. Like if you just have any funny relationship stories that you have with a significant other, a partner, whatever you want to call them, drop me a line. Don't be shy. It's the perfect week to do that. Hit me up on the Twitter machine. Marcus Stewart 7, the number 7, not the word 7. Here's what I've been playing. More Kingdom Hearts 3. I finally finished Tangled, and I went to Toy Story, and I wrapped that up. And I'm still having fun with the game. I've been crawling through it, because I think I've realized that Kingdom Hearts games, there's something about them where despite I having fun with them, they never retain my attention for very long as I'm playing. Like, I can never play an extended session of those games. And I think it has to do with something about the world design. Even though it's better here than I think it's ever been. I think because you're not doing ultimately all that much except kind of running around a decently designed environment in terms of like the platforming and exploration, and beating up things with the Keyblade. And granted, that's fun, but you do that a lot. Like, you're kind of moving around, you run into a batch of Heartless, you vanquish them, and you just keep going. And something about Kingdom Hearts combat, or actually not even something about, it's just that it's not as good as something like a Devil May Cry or Bayonetta to retain my attention for as long as those games can. And I mentioned this last week when I talked about Kingdom Hearts feeling kind of like B+ tier compared to an A tier, like a God of War or like I said, DMC. But even as I was making my way through Toy Story, which is one of my favorite franchises ever, I got through it. I had to keep taking breaks. I would play a portion, like maybe play a third of it, and then take a break for an hour or so, come back, play another third of it, take another break, come back. Like, something about that, I just can't play all the way through it. At least not in one continuous sitting. I was also a little bummed out, speaking of Toy Story specifically, that the dialogue is as kind of, it's a little bit too Kingdom Heartsy and not enough Toy Story. And I mean that in that it's very it's got that very awkward JRPG Square Enix dialogue. It's just the way characters react to each other, kind of like the long awkward pauses and the really ooey gooey friendship stuff that is very Kingdom Heartsy and maybe is less so Toy Story. Even though Toy Story obviously packs a lot of heart, it doesn't have quite that like Pixar kind of writing where it feels very like the dialogue feels a bit more natural and clever. And I will say there is touches of that in Toy Story. Like, it's compared to Tangled and everything else I've seen in terms of the writing, like Toy Story so far was the best in terms of like the character interactions. It just felt a bit more natural compared to everything else, but it also feels noticeably like Kingdom Hearts take on Toy Story as opposed to just Toy Story featuring Sora, Donald, and Goofy, if that makes sense. Like, they really hammer home the point about love and hearts in regards to the toys' relationship with Andy and how that, I guess, kind of relates to the grander message as a whole. It's a bit too on the nose for something like Pixar. Like, it's kind of bland in that sense. It just gets cheesy. Like, I've never seen, this is the first time I've ever felt any sort of cheese come out of the Toy Story franchise. And a lot of it has to do with just Square's writing. I'm kind of amazed that the writing isn't a bit better after all this time and so many Kingdom Hearts entries. But I guess on the same note, maybe they've kind of don't see a reason to change it because the series is super popular and they sell. So maybe they think that that's what fans want or expect from it. But yeah, this was the first time where like the just kind of cheesy writing, it just hasn't aged well at all, and it's kind of become my least favorite part of playing this game is having to listen to the characters talk to each other because of how stilted it feels, and it kind of robs a lot of the scenes, like the actual like plot, important like big moments, of kind of their gravity. Like I think I tolerated it with the other games, especially the older ones. You know, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, way like 15 years ago. At the time, it didn't really register as a thing, but it really does now. Of like, man, is this what these games were always like? That said, I'm still having fun. I like the variety in the Toy Store world, like the mech stuff and the different kind of puzzles. I loved exploring that toy store, especially just the sense of the sense of the big world little person thing, like being a tiny person in a big world. That's always a fun novelty that really doesn't get explored in video games as often as I would like. And I think that the Toy Story world does a solid job of taking advantage of that concept. Overall, though, I'm still having a fun time with the game. And the two worlds that are up next, I'm very excited to get to. I won't spoil what they are, but if you're a Kingdom Hearts player, you should know. The other thing that I'm playing, I recently purchased Tetris Effect. It was on sale, and I've been wanting to play it for a while or play it again. I picked up that demo when it was about to launch, whenever it launched, sometime last fall, don't remember. And I had fun with it, and I love Tetris. Who doesn't love Tetris? I don't think I've ever met someone that genuinely said, I hate Tetris, just the worst. Like, I can't picture someone playing Tetris and then just throwing the game away. Like if they had it on Game Boy and they just threw it against a wall. Not because they were angry that they lost, but just like, this just isn't doing it for me. I'm sure those people exist. I just haven't encountered any, and I don't know how I would react to someone that were to besmirch the just the not even just the name, but just the legacy, just the foundation, the establishment that is Tetris. I would we would have words, I think. Maybe with dolphins jumping around next to us as we exchange words, and camels and windmills and a really kind of lame rap song playing in the background. That is Tetris Effect. It's a really cool game. If you haven't played it, it's from the creator of Rez and Luminous. Luminous, one of my favorite puzzle games ever. I remember buying that launch day, I believe, for the PSP and playing the crap out of it. And I did the same with Luminous 2. And too long ago, I picked up Luminous Remastered for my Switch and dived right back into that. Not much to say about Tetris Effect other than it's just really stylish Tetris. Honestly, that might be selling it short because yes, it's Tetris. It plays fine. But it's got just some really great music and effects. And they do some cool things with just how the music and tempo changes with every block swap and making you feel immersed into Tetris in a way that I've never have been. And I'm not even playing in VR. I have heard that this game is phenomenal in VR. I do not own a PlayStation VR yet. Hopefully one day. But I'm looking forward to diving back into that because I definitely see the appeal that people were talking about just looking at it even from a standard display of like, oh yeah, I could see why being immersed in this would be a very entrancing experience because I get in the zone, no pun intended, playing it just normally, and it's kind of become my early morning game. Like, I feel like you have to have those games that you play as soon as you wake up to kind of wake up your brain and get it going. At least for me, like, I've had, like, strategy games I would dive right into as soon as I woke up to get me critical thinking right out the gate. And I think Tetris has become that for me. I'll wake up, bang out a few of the challenges in the story mode, and then I kind of feel really good. I feel relaxed, and then I also feel just mentally stimulated. If you love Tetris, and I know that you do, because you would never dare say otherwise, I recommend it as one of 2018's standouts. I'm still playing Resident Evil 2. I'm also still being questioned by the government about my incident at the police station back in episode 3. But I have wrapped up Leon's campaign finally, and I have just started Claire's. I'm still having fun, though I'm a bit bummed that Claire's scenario, and I didn't remember this much, at least my memory of the original Resident Evil 2, but Claire's, at least the second playthrough version of Claire, in that if you play Claire after playing Leon, is you going through the police station and doing kind of the same stuff, like the same exact puzzles, which narratively doesn't really make a lot of sense because you go through it after Leon has already gone through it. So why would things be reset? So I'm definitely moving faster through it because I know where things are and how to solve things. But that's kind of diminished my enjoyment of it a bit. That said, I'm still having a blast with that game. It just plays too damn well. And it's just the atmosphere and the scares are so well done that I'm still engaged with it, even if it's to a slightly lesser degree than I was the first go around. Sticking with that Capcom thread, I downloaded that Devil May Cry 5 demo for PS4 and played it. This is my second time playing that demo because I played it when it was on Xbox exclusively not too long ago. And I just wanted to play it on PlayStation to see how it felt because that will be the platform I will likely be buying the game for. But just because I've played all the other ones on PlayStation, so it's just kind of tradition. You're just kind of used to it. You know what I'm talking about. You have those series that even if they're on multiple platforms, if you only played on one platform, you just kind of stick with it for some reason. Devil May Cry is certainly one of those. That game still seems super promising, though I am a bit worried about the lack of like a true dodge maneuver. Like I feel like I've played so many third-person action games in between, or at least in during the hiatus that Devil May Cry has been on, that have implemented a dodge move of some sort, whether it be like even a slow roll or just a quick dash or just some sort of counter. Like Bayonetta has spoiled me on that with the witch time thing, like dodging at the last second and then getting kind of the slow-mo thing. But I was struck by how I was playing the Devil May Cry 5 demo and I kept trying to dodge and I couldn't, and it was really throwing me off and I felt kind of slow and I didn't like it. I like everything else around it, at least so far, but I was like, man, I wish I just had like some sort of dash or anything to get out of the way so I can like just dash behind someone and do a thing. And maybe you can unlock it later on. I can't even remember. It's been so long since I played the original Devil May Cry's. Because I rarely replay games, that I can't remember if those games didn't have a dodge either, or if it was a dodge that you unlocked, or if it was behind one of the fighting styles. If you were playing Devil May Cry 3 or 4, like Trickster, did that have a dodge? I don't even remember if it did in Devil May Cry 3. But regardless, I hope that there's one here because I feel like that is a big omission for the combat, like at least for me personally. That said, I think the game looks really nice, just graphically. Everything else controls pretty well. Still getting used to the demon arm thing. I'm still not even sure I'm still not totally sold if I like it or not. I don't think it's bad. Like, it didn't seem like, oh, get this away from me. I was like, oh, it's okay. Like, I still feel somewhat indifferent to it, and I'm still deciding if I think that if it makes the game better or worse. Regardless, I still have high hope for that game. Big fan of the series. Here's hoping they can stick the landing with that. And hopefully I've stuck the landing on this episode of Marcus Talks About Games. I'm going to start taking it home now because frankly, I want to go play more Apex Legacy, Apex Predator, Apex Legends, Apex Legion. Man, they really need a better name for that game because once you get past Apex, it becomes a bit of a train wreck in terms of remembering what the hell that game's name is. Apex Legends. I am 99% sure that during my discussion of Apex Legends, I called it Apex Predator. Goddamn you, Randy Orton. Anyways, I want to play more of that. And you know what? If you want to play with me, you can find me on PlayStation Network and Xbox Live. I've got the game on both. If you want to hit me up on PSN, my screen name is Liger Dark. That's LYGERDARK. It's a really crappy name. I would love to change it, although I'm afraid I won't have access to half the games I own if I do that. Thanks, Sony. But yeah, shoot me a message on PSN if you want to tag team it up with me in Apex. Just be sure that in that message Tell me that you listen to the show and that you're responding to my invite. Otherwise, I might be afraid that you're either a weird, sexy lady bot that's trying to trick me into signing up for some sort of sex site, or just some random person that I just don't know and might not respond. So do that for me. Same thing goes for Xbox Live, which you can find me. My screen name there is Sundance Kid 1967, as in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is a hell of a film if you've never seen it. Classic Western. But yeah, I'm always looking for new peeps to play Apex Legends. Leggings? Leggings. Apex Leggings with. Maybe they'll put some Apex Leggings in the game. Maybe in one of the new seasons that'll be a cosmetic. Maybe Banglador, who I think I called Bangladesh earlier. Again, these names. I'll get them eventually. But hit me up on either of those platforms if you want to play with me. Otherwise, you can reach out to me at my Twitter account, once again, at MarcusStewart7, the number 7, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe. YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, wherever you're listening to this. If you're listening to it on YouTube and SoundCloud, you're doing so at Marcus Makes Media. If you're looking for the show on iTunes, search for Marcus Writes About Games. And if you want to listen to me on other podcasts, I appear on 2 Dungeons & Dragons role plays, and I have for the last almost a year or so. One show is called We Wanted Adventurers, hosted by friend of the show, Jack Gardner, who is the dungeon master of the show, and she does one hell of a job telling the story of myself and 2 other players. I play a goofy bard named Sean Valjean, and I adventure alongside a halfling and a kobold, 3 very disparate personalities. Very much almost like a buddy cop if it was 3 people. Buddy cops, triple team buddy cops, going from one zany adventure to the next. It's an absolute riot if you enjoy a bit of comedy with your role-playing. And the same holds true for the show's sister podcast, Dragon Guard. Once again, hosted by Dungeon Master Jack Gardner. It is myself, along with 2 other friends. Jack's co-host on the Best Games Period podcast, Naomi Lugo, and friend of the show, Kyle Gatto, as we are part of the Dragon Guard. In that show, I play a tabaxi named Scratch Mangy, who is a tough as nails, gritty cat man with a tragic past involving his slain kitten Sniff. As we very badly try to protect the realm from being invaded by an ancient, powerful dragon. It's been described as It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but in Dungeons & Dragons, which honestly, you could probably apply that to both shows. They're both feature very dysfunctional party members that are very quirky and maybe not necessarily good at their jobs. Though I will say, Dragon Guard, we are very awful at our jobs. So if you want to listen to a show that is just an hysterical comedy of errors, you can find Dragon Guard as well as We Wanted Adventurers on SoundCloud. Just search for, I believe they're under the Best Games Period banner, or you can just search for them by name. You can also do the same at Libsyn, wewantedadventurers.libsyn.com, or you can just find them on Extra Life, which is where Jack works. Of course, Extra Life, great organization, raising money for children's hospitals via video games, and I write for them now and again. Give them a listen. I guarantee you won't be disappointed, but you will be thoroughly entertained. And that's it, folks. Get your games in now, because this coming week is a big one in terms of releases. We got Crackdown 3, we've got Metro Exodus, Jump Force, and several others all launching this week. So clear your schedules, because it's going to be a busy one. So until next time, guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week.